TitleMatchNetwork.com.
What about the Sheik?
The Iron Sheik? I can't believe it. Cosgrove. Oh, man, that's a character right there. Probably the most imitated man in the world of professional wrestling in my time. You know that, the excellent, beautiful, but, you know, everybody's got a Sheik imitation, and he was a character. And I'll tell you, if you missed the Sheik and Nikolai Volkoff show, you missed the show because, and I'm not talking about the show in the ring, I'm talking about the one backstage and them traveling together. Oh my God. Poor old Joe, oh my God. Volkoff. He was just as sweet as even. Where you know, Sheik every time talking about cool, minor, mellow, even temperament. Sheik, I can't believe you're stupid. You're really cussing him and carrying on. It's gonna be all right, Sheik. It's gonna be all right. He was just like, wow. I mean, it was really, truly an odd couple, and I'll tell you, man, they drew nothing but money. Because about any time they get ready to do something, their countries would do something, and there'd be heat with Russia and heat with Iran. You know, but Sheik, yeah, he's. I see he's back walking a little bit better now. Before he was all in them wheelchairs, man.
Yeah,
he looks like he's doing a little better. I'm so happy for him. You know.
You worked a lot with King Kong Bundy, obviously.
I did, Chris. Yes, Chris.
How was he like to work with?
I think of all the big people that I worked with, Chris, King Kong Bundy, he had the fastest step, and he was so. People do not realize how fast he was across that ring. I mean, I say he could have made a great football guy on that line because he was so quick. His first 2 or 3 steps, I mean, were sudden. He was just the kind of guy that would just get out there and just go, and he's tough, hard-nosed, and I had a lot of fun with King Kong Bundy, and I consider Chris a friend of mine. He's a wonderful guy, a very smart man, a lot deeper, more intellectual than most people would understand, a really well-thought guy, and I got to tell you something, that brother don't hold back. He just tells you what he thinks. And if he feels it, he says it. And in my estimation, he's right on the money about all the time. So I like King Kong Bundy, and we're always going to be married at the hip because of that crazy WrestleMania 3 match with almost 94,000 people in that Pontiac Silverdome in WrestleMania number 3, and King Kong Bundy and us and two little guys, and on that great show with the Andre and the Hogan match at the end, and that super match is probably the greatest. Probably, I think, the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. I don't see how anybody could have been better than Steamboat and Macho Man Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3. I've watched a lot of matches. To me, I guess it's because I watched it in real time while it was going on before that crowd, and I was like, "Flesh, I mean, this is an unbelievable match." Those guys were going at it. And to have been a part of that show, and then all these years later, like Chris and I say, the match we're mostly known for is that little goofy gimmick match we had.
Right.
You know, which was just fun, you know.
You talked about guys cracking on the road, and I'm going to ask you about Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda. Obviously, I'm sure you know the story where Mike just got out of the cab one day with Barry. I think it was in New York, or I don't know what town, and he pretty much just went home because he cracked from being on the road. What are your memories of Barry and Mike Rotunda?
Those guys, they were called the All-American Express or something. I remember that, man. Boy, man, first off, let me break it down. I think Barry Windham is the single most talented wrestler I've ever seen in my life. A young guy coming up. I say that because I saw him in Sarasota, Florida one time when I was before I got in. I was already in the business. I watched him wrestle with Harley Race. And me and Barry were talking. First time I ever met him, just a young guy. But both of us were just talking, and he went out there and had that match with Harley. Man, he's what an athlete. I mean, you can just look at him and just says stud. You know what? And he just. That blonde hair, those long legs, and of course, his daddy being Blackjack Mulligan, that don't hurt, And I'm thinking, man, what an athlete, and just a character. Wonderful to me. I used to ride with him in my early days. Him and Mike Rotunda and his parents were so nice to me in upstate New York, and I know his wife Stephanie, who is Barry's sister.
Right.
Mike is married to Barry's sister, and Mike Rotunda, just a great guy, a wonderful cat. Real quiet, very reserved. Barry wilder than a March hare, and Mike just as cool as he could be. And I can understand how you crack, because we used to always talk about cracking, because back in those days, about every so often somebody would crack. I cracked several times in airports and just went home for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
You just do it.
Did you get heat with the office for a week?
Oh, you get heat for the love, but they understand. They understand because they're driving you too hard.
Right.
And you just I can't take it no more. And they give you a few days to decompress, and you go back and and say I'm sorry, and they'll do some stuff to you for a while, and you'll be okay.
Right.
But I know Mike. I saw Mike at WrestleMania in Miami this past spring, and we got to talk. He's kind of an agent or something.
Yeah, he's an agent now.
And he seems to be real happy, and he's getting home more, and he's a sweetheart.
What about Ken Patera? Members of Ken Patera?
What a cat! One of the first guys in the world to clean and jerk 500 pounds over his head. Now I'm talking about, this is before that happened. This is before Vasily Alexiev did that big Russian that won all the gold medals, and Ken Patera was a big time weightlifter, America's best, and I mean a stud. And then when he got into the wrestling business, man, he really took off good. Had a great run. When I hang out with Kenny, it's just I just love seeing him. You know, he's just always been real good to me, and a swell cat, and one of those kind of guys. He's a surly kind of cat to a lot of people. You know, kind of hard to deal with, and he can be a little angry and bitter sometimes, because he too is one of those brothers who won't hold his tongue.
Yep.
And I'd like to see more of him. I know he lives up in Minnesota, because I talked to my buddy Jumping Jim Brunzell, who sees Kenny every once in a while. And I'd like to see Kenny. I know Kenny had a couple of shoulder replacements and stuff. He's had a lot of pain in his life, but he was great. He was a great in-ring performer and a great character. And he's one of the guys that was really nice to me. Really nice guy.
What about Jimmy Snuka?
Superfly. How about that Jimmy Snuka? He don't ever change, does he? Got the same smile about, hey brother. He gave me some elbow pads the first time I ever did a WWF match, when they were giving me kind of a tryout. I didn't have anything with me, and Jimmy gave me some elbow pads or knee pads or something. I went out and did the shot with it. He was wonderful. And as the years have gone by, I've seen Jimmy a lot, because I do a few of these little shows. I want to do more of them. I ought to come out and do more, because I seem to have a great time every time I come out and do it. But I see Jimmy at a lot of them, and we talk about the times. I talk about Alpha and Sika, the Samoans. I see them when I get a chance to come out, and
right.
The Island guys. Of course, I loved Haku. I love Haku, and the Barbarian. All those guys. Those Island guys are sweet. And Jimmy's just one of those guys. Those guys, if they love you, man, you're over forever. And I think probably one of the most spectacular moves that ever was in the wrestling business was when Jimmy Superfly Snuka would come off the top of that cage or come off the top of that corner and do that Superfly splash. Man, it was unbelievable, wasn't it?
It was awesome.
No, nobody could do it like that. Other guys would do it, but he'd look like a giant flying squirrel coming off there or something, man.
TitleMatchNetwork.com